Parshas Mishpatim, entering the final week of Shovavim, Tafshin Pei Hei. Parshas Mishpatim is the parsha where the Torah that we were just mekabel in Parshas Yisroi is now al minas lasos. The Torah tells us what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to act. So many mitzvahs in this week's parsha, which is sandwiched between the two parts of Matan Torah and Parshas Yisroi and the end of Parshas Mishpatim. And the first mitzvah the Torah tells us is the mitzvah of Eved Ivri. And the Torah tells us about someone who is sold as an Eved, whether he is forced to be sold because he stole and doesn't have what to pay back, or because he is in such financial difficulties that he's forced to sell himself as an Eved. And he's supposed to go free after 6 years of working. But after the 6 years, sometimes an Eved might come and say, Ahavti es Adoni es ishti ve'es bonai. I like it here too much, everything is so good, I don't want to go, I would rather stay. And the Torah tells us, what do we do with such an Eved? V'higisha yadoina v'elo Elohim. You bring him to Bezdin. Bezdin brings him to the doorpost, and they pierce his ear by the doorpost. And Rashi tells us from Chazal, why his ear? Zogin Chazal, because Oizin sheshama al Har Sinai, Oizin, the ear that heard on Har Sinai. Lo signov, don't steal, and he went and he stole. That type of person deserves to be punished on his ear. And if one didn't steal but sold himself as an Eved for other reasons, Oizin sheshama al Har Sinai, a ear that heard on Har Sinai, Kili b'nei Yisrael avodim, that we should be the avodim of the Rabbi Shalom, and he went and he took a different master, he also deserves that his ear should be punished, and therefore his ear is pierced at this moment. And all the Mefarshim are bothered. This Aveira, quote unquote, this wrong thing that this person did by selling himself or by stealing didn't take place now. That took place 6 years before, the first time that he stole and he had to be sold as an Eved, or when he went and he sold himself as an Eved because of his financial situation. So why is he being punished for that only now? And this Sfas Emes tells us a fascinating yesod. Zok de heilige Sfas Emes, a person could fall. A person could have an nefila, and Rahmana litzlan can end up stealing. A person can have a nefila and Rahmana litzlan end up selling himself to be an Eved to someone else, and in that diminishing his avdus to the Rabbi Shalom. But at that moment when the person fell and when the person was nichshel, in his mind he had cheshbainis how it's not going to be so bad, he's going to be able to work it out, it won't be such a shter to his avodas Hashem. But after 6 years of living in that situation, of living in the situation of being an Eved to someone else and not to the Rabbi Shalom, in living in a situation where you're classified as someone who stole, and therefore you are an Eved, and you make peace with your situation, and you're ready to stay there, that's when you get punished. And Meirei v'Rabbi say, this is a tremendous yesod for all of us. None of us are perfect, and none of us will be perfect. Aber soll man nicht liegen in der Blotte. Let us not wallow in the dirt, which we find ourselves in sometimes. How to deal with a nefila is not by making peace with the situation. Okay, this is where I am, this is what I am, this is who I am. How to deal with a nefila is by looking and encouraging oneself quickly to pick oneself up and to change and to not allow that to define who he is. If an Eved comes after 6 years and says, I'm happy the way it is, it's fine, I'll stay a second-class citizen in Ruchnius. That Eved gets punished. And if any person, because of his nisyanis, because of his nefilas in life, defines himself, so I will be the one who is not so careful, then Rachmana litzlan, we also deserve to get punished. But at the end of the parasha, we find Mida Teiva Meruba. The Torah for the first time tells us the mitzvah of Shalish Regalim. There's a mitzvah 3 times a year to leave one's home, leave our properties, and go up to the Beis HaMikdash, to be with the Rabbi Shalom 3 times a year, on Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. And the Medrash tells us, Mayofu pa'amayich bana'olim. How beautiful was it when Klal Yisrael was oile regel with their shoes. And the Mefarshim all are bothered, why when the Torah is describing the Maila of Aliyah L'Regel, do we describe them with their shoes? And I've heard this word, b'shem many, that we know that when someone is in the Beis HaMikdash, they are there without their shoes. In the Beis HaMikdash itself, one is there without his shoes, we stand barefoot. When do we put on our shoes? When we leave the Beis HaMikdash and we're going home from the Beis HaMikdash. We're heading back from that pinnacle of greatness and we're going home and we put on our shoes. Zok the Torah Kedosha, Zok the Medrash. Mayofu pa'amayich. Do you want to know the beauty of Klal Yisrael? The beauty of Klal Yisrael is not only when they're in the Beis HaMikdash and they're on a high, on a ruchniistic high, and everything's going great, and they feel so holy, and they feel so close to the Rabbi Shalom. The beauty of Klal Yisrael is that after that, how do we leave that situation? Yes, we put on our shoes and we head back to our fields, we head back to our homes, we head back to our day-to-day lives, but we take that inspiration that we had in the Beis HaMikdash and a little bit of it transforms our life after the Beis HaMikdash, that it looks somewhat different than it looked before. We allow ourselves to be defined while we're wearing our shoes on the way home. But we are defined as people who just spend time in the Beis HaMikdash. And Meirei v'Rabbi say, entering the last week of Shovavim, and doing something to take the inspiration that we all had the last 6 weeks, and bringing it back home, bringing it back to the regular life. We have to realize the importance of being able to tap in to our ruchniistic selves and define ourselves with the highs that we just experienced. Whether it was working on Yerushalayim, on Limud Torah, on Emunah, on Bitachon, on sensitivities. Don't leave that in the Beis HaMikdash. Don't leave that in the weeks of Shovavim. Take it with you. Package it up and take that package into the rest of the year, and especially as we're soon entering Chodesh Adar, the days of Purim, of Pesach, of Sfiras HaOmer, such wonderful, great times for a Yid. Let us start off with this tremendous chizuk of the weeks of Shovavim, and let us define ourselves that way, and let us remember that if chas v'shalom there will be any type of nefila, if chas v'shalom there will be any type of yerida, that's not who we are. We are the people who worked for 6 weeks on Shovavim. We are the people who are looking to strive, who are looking to grow, who are looking to get close to the Rabbi Shalom. We are the people, even while we're wearing our shoes, but we're Beis HaMikdash Yidin. And so the Eibishter helfen that we should take this inspiration with us, and it should change us and transform us, and we should be zeicha bekarev as we're entering the chadashim of Geula, together with all of Klal Yisrael, to once again experience the Shalish Regalim Tachek Liba Shana Bebinyan Beis HaMikdash B'mheira V'yameinu Amen.